rushed her in. She had surgery. Really? Yeah. She was in high school.
Hello, hello.
He's the busiest woman in the Lowell school. So she said, you're going to sit down there. No, you're going to sit down there. Right over here. The subcommittee members sit here. Oh, you all sit here. Roles are reversed. Okay, all right. Roles are reversed. So she probably he's going to be up in Colorado for a meeting. And he was going on, he already bought his ticket, he was going on Thursday night to the weekend with his brother who lives up there. He said, is there any way? I said, no, you want to go up there anyway. So flying up next Thursday to Lowell. I said, it's going to have to be my last time. I can't do that. Yeah, kidding, you know. Not that I mind, you know. And my son calls me to Ripple this week for 2 Saturdays in a row, the 20th and 29th of October 4th. Yeah, no, they like you, you're more fun.
Yes, sir.
It's called a heads up, giving you a heads up, I guess.
I'll always take those.
That's an Army thing, that's what I do. Make sure you help your troops, guys around you.
Yeah. How long have you been there?
It's 3 years, it's 3 years. But it did everything for me. I lost my dad, so I made some structure. And I was like, oh my God, I had something right with the ball. You know, that bone.
Yeah. A lot of us went to the military for that reason, right?
Yeah. I respect these sergeants, whatever we call them, top. They were non-com, not an officer, he was a non-com. He was like a PA.
Master Sergeant, yeah, was your first sergeant.
To me, it's all about them and then Curtis, full bird Curtis.
I grew up in, my dad was a first sergeant.
Oh yeah, great.
So, all of us, I don't think we had a choice to go to the military. Me and all my brothers enlisted. We had to go to the military.
Oh, okay.
It was like an obligation.
Yeah.
My oldest brother was Army. I was Army. My older brother was Marine. 43. And then my older brother is 46. And then I have another brother who's passed away now. And he was in the Army. He probably needed it more than all of us.
You know, I'll be 65 next month. You know, back then, you could drop out of school. Come here, boy. Come here.
Did you get drafted for now?
No, I was the first volunteer.
How you doing, sir?
Rice and soy sauce. Rice and soy sauce.
Sign up for LTC.
Good stuff.
I think she's talking to me. She said, I just think that's a great idea.
You know me.
Yeah. Picture of mine and want to hear it before I
Yeah, exactly.
before I do it.
Copy some from you. You think I'm the original?
Did you guys sign up for your 2 minutes at LTC?
Well, good evening. This is an opening of a meeting of the Community Partnership Subcommittee. Could we have the secretary take the roll, please?
Chairperson Dakota?
Here?
Ms. Delay?
Here.
Ms. Martin?
Here.
3 present.
At this time, I'd like to turn things over to the Chief Equity and Engagement Officer, Latifah Phillips. All yours.
Thank you, school committee members. My name's Latifah Phillips. I guess I'm still our new Equity and Engagement Officer, leading a newly created division. It is the Office of Educational Equity and Community Empowerment. And I wanted to talk with you today about the role of the community outreach strategist. This is a critical new position in this division that I want to discuss with you ways to use this position to empower families through increased information and understanding of school and district goals. So I have a short presentation, and then we can look at the job description and then really take any feedback that you have, any recommendations, thoughts on how can we make this position most successful in the new division, but overall for our district. So if we take a look, I wanted to start with our core beliefs, and I know you've been seeing them, but we should, right? See what are we grounded in? These beliefs can't just live at the cabinet level. They can't just live at the committee level. It has to really penetrate throughout the entire district if this is what we believe. And one of the core functions of the community outreach strategist will be to take these beliefs, to take our equity initiatives, to take our commitments and share it out across the districts from families, teachers, principals, community partners, so that we're all on the same page with where we're moving our district forward. So you see, education, a high quality education is a civil right. Teaching and learning are at the core, and that is absolutely, as a former teacher, what happens in that classroom is at the core of our work. Parents are our partners, and we say that, but the relationship with parents is an intentional relationship. It's intentional in communication, it's intentional in the information parents receive and the opportunities that they get to make decisions for their kids. There's no silver bullet to improving our schools, so in understanding that there's not just one way of doing things, in order for people to participate, they have to know, how to participate. When are the convenings? What's the topic of discussion? What's the decision to be made? And then the last core belief is every adult in the system is accountable for the success of our students. And I think that this really ties in with the community outreach strategists, because even though we recognize that teaching and learning are at the core, we're also recognizing that it takes many adults to move our students toward post K-12, post-secondary success, right? I often talk about the success of the schools not being at graduation, right? Not handing off with a diploma, but actually handing off our students either into the college system, to the vocational training, into a career, but that requires coordination and preparation with the community. So this, I want us to keep this in mind as we continue forward in the presentation. All right, and our fundamental commitments, and part of the reason Dr. Boyd created the Equity Office. So one of our commitments is toward eliminating racial, ethnic, and linguistic achievement and opportunity gaps. That is not something that we can do ourselves at the leadership level. This really takes everyone in our system understanding what are those gaps, what are the behaviors that lead to those gaps, what are the entrenched institutional processes that lead to these gaps, and then what is everyone's role in making a difference. When we talk about parents as our partners Our parents need to know what those gaps are so that they can push us, as well as do their part at home. Our community members do their part on the weekends, after school. Teachers do their part in the classroom. You do your part in guiding us and pushing us. Providing equitable funding and resources. So we talked last session, and we'll talk this session around site-based funding, fair student funding. That involves site-based councils, school councils making decisions around how the resources are best used at schools. The intention of this is that our families and communities are an active part of this, but this is going to really require getting into our communities, understanding how to better communicate with families, understanding what our families' priorities and needs are, in order for this to properly function the way that we're envisioning. And then engaging families with courtesy, dignity, respect, and cultural understanding. Again, it can be words on paper, or it can be words with action behind it. And to me, action means, because I respect your opinion, I'm going to get information to you. I'm going to actively encourage you to come to the parent teacher conference, to the school site council meeting, to the district budget meeting. So taking it that step beyond just information going out, but really trying to get two-way information. So I want to go, I have a slide here, and I think Dr. Boyd had presented this when he was creating the division. And the areas in red are the new areas of work that largely have fallen solely with me. And then the green areas were pre-existing work that came with staff to do some of this work. And I've been here for 2 months now and have learned so much, and I'm just so encouraged and excited to be here. But one of the things that I have learned as relates to the communications and my role in the communications is that it's very reactive, right? That's the amount of time right now is for reaction. And two-way communication is ongoing, right? It's timely, it's a relationship. It's not just responding to immediate press inquiries or to complaints. Like, all of that is important. All of that has to be done, but it doesn't leave time for the true community building, communication building. It's not leveraging our communications tools, such as our social media, our Twitter, our Facebook, our web pages, our school site web pages, good news stories. Schools are sending me things, accomplishments by their teachers over the summer, amazing things, but it takes time to then say, okay, now I'm going to draft out this newsletter to get that information out to our schools. And it's not just about feeling good. It's about demonstrating the hard work of our teachers, of our schools. And, and especially my time in the Family Resource Center has really opened my eyes to the need for intentional communication and how families access information about different schools and different programs. And to me, that's a huge issue of equity, having the information about different schools and picking the right one for your child and advocating for yourself. And I think there's a lot of work for us to understand what's uniquely the strengths of our different schools, so that our families can have just better information to choose the best school for their kids. So I want to further define family engagement is about every adult in a child's life working together to help them reach their full potential. It's intentional. It's most effective when it's early and ongoing, not just in response to a crisis. So we really want to move away from crisis response and really into two-way, meaningful communication that leads to empowered families and community members to push us to make this the best system for their kids. So, some considerations. So again, effective, ongoing, two-way communication. We already know from research that students are more successful when parents and communities are involved and everyone understands and values their roles in the success of our students. Our families have expectations for communication. I think that new media has really made information more accessible, but I think in the district we haven't been able to really utilize, again, all of those different mechanisms for communicating to get timely information out to families. And then access to information is a matter of educational equity. I already said that. Some families are very good at getting information. Other families are hoping you will share it with them, actively inviting them into educational discussions. And then the last bullet, which is aspirational, but public schools play a broader role in the success of our students in society, right? So when we start thinking about other positions that lend itself to the success of a district, teaching and learning are at the core, but again, we are preparing our students to be community members, to be our neighbors, to be our caretakers, and so everyone in the community has a vested interest in our kids, but they need to know how do we all pitch in and support. You know, I was meeting with a colleague from the bank, and she was asking me, what can I do, to support kids in high school? And everyone should be able to understand what are our core beliefs, what are the inequities we're trying to address, and how does everyone, fit into our big goals. All right, so last part about considerations, we want to accommodate the diverse communication needs of our different communities. We want communication to be meaningful, and then also to have accountability. So there can be accountability for communications, but right now when it's just a response, it's just kind of, we're just not being proactive in understanding, how satisfied our families are with our schools, how strong our partnerships are. But if we have a position that is specifically tailored toward communication and outreach, we can have metrics for performance, and you can see a difference, at the end of the year because we have, more information going out via these other mechanisms like Twitter, Facebook. We can do surveys around communication, satisfaction, and how it helps families to be better prepared to talk with their teachers, their schools, with district leadership. And so these are different types of school and district communications that often kind of go under the radar. So there's promotion of school happenings, events, academic programs, achievements. Many of our families aren't aware of the different programs at our high school, different after-school opportunities, arts opportunities, and that's something we would like to promote more across all of our schools. Then there's time-critical school information. So school closings, lottery, school assignment, transportation, all of those need someone thinking through how can we get better information to families? How can we utilize new media, new mediums so that families don't have to come into the Family Resource Center, right, to get hand-printed letters or wait for hand-printed mailings. School site council meetings, events relating to education improvement. So once we start site-based decision-making, how are we going to get families to those meetings? Or is it just going to be the empowered families that are sitting at the table to make the decisions? And then there's the stories and imagery of the school's impact on the community. So there is a human interest piece, alumni, photos, videos, but we should be proud of what's happening in our school, and I don't think there's anything wrong with, investing in that piece of demonstrating the hard work of our students and teachers in schools. And then school marketing and branding to support school enrollment process and staff recruitment and retention. So I think this is an amazing community to be in. I'm glad that I found the community, and I believe that others can find their way here or be inspired within the community to work for this district if we're able to get more information out about the uniqueness of each school and the different opportunities across our district. So if you look at the job description, you'll see that we are looking for a specific candidate with experience in journalism, communications, media, education. You know, a lot of our teachers are utilizing these different mediums of communication already, but maybe there's a superstar there who can help us all do it better across all of our schools and districts. We're looking for strong writing, editing, verbal communication skills, relationship building, experience with publications such as flyers, newsletters, reports, ability to facilitate conversations, flexibility in hours. So, but the core of their work will be with communicating out information using digital promotion, and bringing our families, communities, schools together to work toward our goals. We do have some really big initiatives in the district coming out, our strategic planning, our site-based budgeting, the new high school, and we're gonna need proactive communication going out from the district. And in the 2 months that I've been here, I'm starting to see how the communications roll, the time that it takes, and really it is more in a reactive mode, and it doesn't leave much time to do the proactive communications. So that's all the information that I wanted to share, and I can stand for questions or discussion.
Actually, before we open the floor to questions, I'd like to recognize the fact that we have our other 3 school committee members in attendance here tonight, Mr. Bob Hoey, Jerry, and Jackie. I'm sorry. So now I'd like to open the floor to discussions.
Mm-hmm.
Just for the,
Mr. Lay?
sorry, Mr. Chairman, thank you. Apologize. Just for the this job description, I'm just wondering, when do we plan to bring this person on board? Have we posted this job this description online yet? And when do we plan to close the application?
Mm-hmm. So school committee member Lay and school committee members, it has not been posted. So one of our commitments was that we were going to wait and have this discussion to make sure that I was able to hear from you. You know, how do we put this position forward? What type of person should I be looking for? And is there anything missing that you'd like to see differently that's not here? So it's on hold right now. I would love to move forward with it as soon as possible, but I also want to respect the feedback that you have for us.
Ms. Martin?
Thank you very much. Can you remind me the salary scale on this one?
Mm-hmm. This is $70,000 to $80,000, and that's in line with I believe our student support specialist positions.
Okay. I think, first off, and I appreciate the nature of your presentation. I appreciate that very much. Thank you, because I think there was some great information here that really fleshed out to a greater extent what your vision is for this, which I think is very helpful. I think some of the things I would like to just kind of perhaps include in your process. I absolutely believe, we've been in reaction mode for a very long time. That's absolutely true. And I think, moving towards, the adage that, you're moving from reactive to proactive, absolutely. What I think you're really trying to do, though, is truly move towards interactive. Really getting us to the place where information is coming in just as much as it's going out. And I think that one of the key things I'd like to see built into this position, recognizing that we're starting at the ground level, that as this individual comes on board, they're going to be, creating newsletters and managing social media, and doing that, taking care of that whole process. As a starting point, I think that's great, but ultimately, that person should be training people within all of our schools. Like, I really see this as kind of a specialist position, where the individual has the expertise and can execute in the beginning, but the ultimate goal is for them to be able to kind of train the trainer so that every school community is taught what they need to know so that they can conduct these relationships directly and build these relationships directly. And I think anyone coming in, I think that's a solid salary range to bring someone in with that level of expertise, that they should be able to do that, kind of build the car, but then be able to teach everyone else how to drive it. So I think that's, just something I'd like to see taken into consideration with the new position. I think that on the communication side of things, it's really strong. I would like to see more, and it may not even be within this position, it may be somewhere else within your division. The actual kind of parent engagement activity, I think is crucially important. I think we all do, that's nothing new. Recognizing that parent engagement really is going to be, can be the single thing that transforms a student's experience within our schools. If their parents are engaged and respected and they're allowed to have a voice in those decisions, I think that will have a profound impact on the quality of education. I don't see that represented as strongly. So, again, something to consider, that, moving forward, we want to ensure that whether it's a stronger engagement around parent liaisons in the work that they do, or some other methods that you may be considering. I think this position can support that effort, but I don't necessarily see the same skill set in this, primarily around, I'm envisioning more of a social work or a kind of almost like a community organizing kind of connection point there. But I think that, that can be accomplished with the right person, but it can also be accomplished with other assets that you have as part of your team and whatnot. I think it's a great idea for a position. I appreciate you taking the time to flesh it out a little bit more with us. I know that this was the one that kind of, we asked to push back on. By we, I mean me, I'm sorry. But I appreciate the extra time and attention to it, because I really do think it states in a very clear way, this is not someone who's going to be sitting in a back room tweeting all day. And, this is not a kind of inch-deep attempt to promote the Lowell schools, because that's not what we need. We need someone who is really deeply engaged in building a communications infrastructure that will allow the schools to build their own relationships and share their own information, and be able to do it in a way that's effective with a very diverse parent base, and in the way that can truly support children in the work that they're doing with their teachers in school. So I appreciate it very much. I'm hoping at the conclusion of our subcommittee today that we'll be able to give you the go-ahead to move forward.
Thank you.
Ms. Lay, anything else?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick question on the channel of communication. You listed a bunch of means for communication, such as email, social media, video, non-digital. Is that flyer? Is that non-digital, just piece of paper? Okay. I know in the past we kind of have a hard time trying to get to the parents. So I don't know if you could have the I don't know, I'm just saying, if you have any other ways to find the way to get to the parents other than just this. I know this is plenty already, but somehow not every parent get it for some reason. But this is not anything to tell you what to do, but just to inform you that we have all these, but still the parents didn't somehow not getting them in the past. Thank you.
I've been bringing this up several times over the course of the last few years, that we're probably one of the best kept secrets in this community as to what we get done on a daily basis. I think people would be shocked if they found out all that we do. And when I say we get a lot of bang for our buck, that's no lie. That is the truth. I think another big thing that we should be looking at too are the school site councils and making sure that they are active and involved with what we're doing. The other thing was, and this is just from my personal experience of being a teacher and knowing and seeing that very often when there would be events that we were performing or something, and some parents just would not come out and just would not show up. And I know culturally that some cultures look at coming into the schools is like a level of usurping the educators' jobs, and they don't want to do that. So that's another thing that we really have to communicate to them, that we want them there. We really do. The other thing that you mentioned, the parent-teacher conferences. Again, I've been from elementary to high school, and there's that whole diminishing returns. Here's how tall the little kiddos are in the high school, and you get the converse of attendance. You get this high attendance with the little kids, and by the time they get to high school, well, the parent-teacher conference, well, you're doing all right, and that's it really should go pretty much, it should stay stable. I've always felt that way. Because very often at the high school, it was a very lonely night. But communicating and getting out there, and I have talked about maintaining on our website, the school website, a calendar of all the events going on in all of the schools. And I know that is a huge task to ask to be done. But then again, I think you need to have all of your schools sending that information into the calendar, for that calendar. Because I've tried looking, and I've missed so many performances that I really wanted to go to attend, and they're just not on the calendar. And so I think we need to really make sure that happens. There is a calendar on our webpage, and it just has very little information, very little in terms of what's going on in all the buildings. Because again, that would be yet another way for the community to see all of the great stuff that's happening throughout our schools. And I really think that's important. And the communications that you're trying to make sure go out there, are you asking? It should come from principals first, wouldn't you agree? I mean, I think principals should be the ones providing that information first, and then maybe something from central. And on a little less. And I also agree with you, and the excitement should be building for the high school and everything else that's going on. Yes.
I just wanted to comment, school committee, Dakota and school committee members, that the partnership with the schools is a big part of this position. It's not, in some cases well, it's both, In some cases, it's doing things on our own, and other cases, sharing communications expertise with principals. But it's definitely not taking the place of local school communications. It's enhancing it and being a resource.
Okay. Mr. Hoey?
Schools and the principals are in charge. I've seen schools in Nashville, like Dr. Crisp School, They'd have spaghetti suppers, they'd have dances, they'd have hair nights, they'd have nail nights. They did get people involved to come to the schools. So I think you're off to a good start. I really thought your presentation was awesome. I can't wait to see the principals really in charge of their schools and to see what happens. So continue your good work. I would have danced with you, but my wife was with me that day. I told Minerva the same thing. But I thought it was one of the best things I've seen in my lifetime for the kids in school. To give out 1,300 backpacks with stuff in it, to me is incredible. I look at this city like, you can look, it's not Lawrence, but a lot of people, family of four, teeter around $40,000 a year, when some of us are paying that on automobiles, either insurance or the payments. So it's incredible that you're here. Keep up the good work, and thank you. Appreciate it.
Anyone else have a comment, question? Mr. Lay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just want to add one more thing about the type of school communications. You list a bunch of them, there are a lot of them, and there's one thing that I thought that is important. Maybe I just want to take the opportunity to throw that in right now before I forget, and that is about choosing high schools. When kids in 7th grade, 8th grade, they will decide to go to either regular high school or vocational schools. And I just feel that the students and the parents do not really understand. There are a lot of them, a lot of them understand, but there are some that don't really understand the difference between the vocational grade or low technical school versus our regular high school. And I just feel that parents try to push their kids to go to different schools. I've seen smart kids who should be having an eye on UMass, Harvard, MIT, but instead they chose vocational school because they thought grade or low tech will prepare them better for those kind of commitment, or those kind of challenges. So somehow I feel, and by doing so, they take spots away from the kids who really need to go to Voc. So maybe find some way to educate the parents and the students a little bit more clearly about the differences between the two, I suppose. It's just my opinion.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To address that for a moment, having been at the high school for a long time, and be a part of the shows that we would put on for visiting 8th graders from the various schools over a few days. We used to refer to it as the dog and pony show, and trying to show them all of the wonderful things that we had to offer at the high school. And then they would go off to the Greater Lowell Technical School, and even some of them would go over to the parochial private schools. But we have been doing that. I don't know if they've continued over the last couple of years of doing those presentations for the kids, the 8th graders, to come in. And we invited all of the schools, not just the public schools. We invited the private schools, parochial schools to come in as well and see what we had to offer at the high school. I tried to explain to a lot of people, and you know, it's not everyone's cup of tea, but at the end of the day, Lowell High School offers probably more after-school activities than Phillips Central, Lowell Catholic put together. At the end of the day, I think we have that many more things to offer our kids in extracurricular activities. So it's a good, and I don't think we sell that enough. And as part of that whole communication thing, I think we need to make sure that the community knows about it, that the 8th graders know about it ahead of time, and it's not just a passing word or something like on that idea. So,
Thank you. I'll take a note of that.
any other? Yep. Ms.
If I
Martin?
could, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that the subcommittee make a recommendation to the full committee that we move forward to post and fill this position we've been discussing, the community.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yep, this motion passes.
That should allow us.
Fantastic, thank you.
Yep.
You should be able
Oh,
to
sorry.
report tonight to be able to.
Just
make
one
that
more
motion.
thing, if you don't,
Make it- oh,
we have enough time, Andy, I got about another minute, just one more thing. The Resource Center, you touched on that a little bit, the Family Resource Center. I think compared to 3 years ago, it's come a long way. To me, I felt like it was turning into Disney World. I was by there this morning, and it was really bustling, you know? And I just think adding what you're trying to do and what you've done yourself with what Mrs. Duda has already done there is, it's unbelievable. I know they're getting treated much better because I've seen it. I've witnessed an improvement in the 3 years before you before you got here, and I've already seen a big improvement in the past couple of weeks in that office, so thank you again, that's all I want to say.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Thank you, Mr. Hoey. Any other comments from anyone? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.